Today, President Trump delivers a speech on law and order. He's going over to the Justice Department to make the speech. White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt joins me now. Can you give us a preview of his speech, Karoline?
Sure, I can, and it's great to be with you, Stu. Thanks for having me. This afternoon, President Trump will go to the Department of Justice to visit with the Attorney General Pam Bondi and the FBI Director Kash Patel, and to give a speech to not just the Department of Justice, but to the American people about President Trump's intention to restore a Justice Department that is truly focused on fighting crime and restoring law and order in our American communities. The Department of Justice should not be a place in which Americans are targeted for their political leanings and ideologies, but rather a place where we allow law enforcement agents to be law enforcement agents, to remove violent criminals off of our streets, to restore public safety in our communities. These are basic American principles, and President Trump will be talking about that this afternoon.
A federal judge has ruled that tens of thousands of fired federal workers must be reinstated immediately. Okay, Karoline, how are you going to fight that?
Well, let's talk about the absurdity of this, Stu. You have a single lower district court judge who ruled that all of these individuals need to be rehired, just usurping the executive authority of President Trump to fire federal workers. This cannot be allowed to happen. This ruling was unconstitutional. The White House and the Trump administration are prepared to fight back. And if you want to know how absurd this injunction was, just look at the numbers. In February alone, there have been 15 nationwide blocks of the Trump administration's agenda by these judges who are acting as judicial activists. Under Joe Biden, in 3 years, there were only 13 injunctions. In 3 years, in 1 month, we have had 15. You have a judicial system, these judges who are trying to have executive powers. If they want executive authority, they should run for president themselves. Everything this president is doing is within his executive power, and we are prepared to fight back.
Will the president deal with that in his speech to the DOJ this afternoon?
Well, he may discuss that, but as I said, his speech is going to be mainly focused on restoring law and order in our communities. And yes, ending the weaponization of justice. President Trump has been a victim of that, as evidenced by the more than 100 indictments that he faced on the campaign trail by judges and attorney generals who were acting as judicial activists, partisan individuals who should be serving the American people and be focused on fighting real criminals and real crime.
Our top story this morning, which I selected, was Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. He will vote to advance the GOP spending bill. I say Schumer caved. What is the president saying about it?
Well, the president thanked Chuck Schumer publicly this morning, and I think the Democrats last week were gambling that President Trump couldn't secure the votes, and they learned don't bet against Donald Trump. President Trump and Speaker Johnson did a tremendous job getting this continuing resolution across the finish line in the House, and now we expect everyone in the Senate to get on board. This is a good, clean, fair CR for the American people to keep the federal government business open and operating, so we can pass a balanced budget and a good budget reconciliation package later this year. And so we're pleased with Chuck Schumer, and we hope every Democrat will get on board and do what's right for the American public.
Karoline, another one for you. Nearly 100 pro-Hamas protesters were arrested after they swarmed Trump Tower in New York City. How does the president feel about Trump Tower? He's got his name on it. How does he feel about that being invaded by radicals?
It's disgraceful, and these radicals were protesting in the name of somebody who is a terrorist sympathizer, an individual who was supporting Hamas, which is a foreign terrorist organization that has killed Americans, that currently has Americans in captivity in Gaza. This is a brutal organization. They are deranged jihadists, and those protesters were siding with them. It speaks of volumes about the modern-day Democrat Party and the left, and President Trump will continue to fight back against it by all means.
One thing that troubles so many people is the violence that's emerging. Beating up on Tesla dealerships, for example, setting fire to charging stations, invading Trump Tower, fighting with police. I think this is dangerous. You're on the verge of transferring violence against property to having violence against people. It's kind of unnerving.
Well, all of the violence you just mentioned, Stu, is stemming from the political left. And President Trump agrees with you, this White House agrees with you, that it is unacceptable and it must be stopped. And the president has made that very clear. And Democrat leaders should call on their constituents and their supporters to stop with this violence. And a peaceful protest, of course, is always welcome in the United States of America. But when you're turning to violence and when you are siding with terrorist groups like Hamas, that's another story.
Democrats say that Biden left Trump with a strong economy. Watch this, please.
President Biden had left him an economy with steady growth, with all-time high stock markets, and with inflation coming down.
Donald Trump was given an economy that was on the way up. It's completely inverted now.
Karoline, would you care to respond to that?
I'm not sure what world or economy those Democrats are living in, but the American people beg to differ, and that's why they reelected President Trump on November 5th to fix the economic nightmare that was created by the Biden-Harris administration. And President Trump, in just 54 days, is well on his way to doing that. Inflation is cooling. Gas prices are coming down. The cost of eggs is $2 cheaper than they were under Joe Biden just a month and a half ago. You also see airline fares have come down. Look at the massive deregulatory effort of the Trump administration. We have already saved the American people $180 billion. Just this week alone, the EPA slashed 31 burdensome regulations that were on the books from the previous administration. These are silent taxes on the American people that this administration is slashing every single day. As President Trump said this morning, the Trump economic boom is incoming, and this administration is working hard every day to create growth, to slash regulation, and to sign tax cuts into law, which we need Congress to do. The president is determined to get it done.
I just want to leave time for this positive news development. It's breaking now. Hamas says it will release American hostage Eden Alexander. They're going to release the bodies of 4 other Americans as well, and they're going to restart ceasefire talks. Can you tell us any more about this?
Well, I'm always very cautious when I hear the words of Hamas. I want to verify that with our national security team to make sure what they are saying is the truth. But what I can tell you is that our special envoy, Steve Witkoff, our national security advisor, Mike Waltz, Secretary of State Rubio, and the president himself have been working diligently to end this conflict in the Middle East and to ensure that all of the hostages can return home. I was in the Oval Office a couple of weeks ago with the president when he met with 8 recently released hostages, and they said to the president, every single one of them, they would not be alive if not for President Trump. So this administration will continue to work hard to release all of the hostages. President Trump is determined to do that.
I think we've covered it all. Karoline Leavitt, thank you very much for being with us this morning. You work hard. We'll see you later.
Rapid fire.
Yeah,
Thanks,
indeed.
Stu.
Thanks a lot.